Daniel Parry reports.
All the evidence that we've been finding does suggest that there's a very long period of culture contact going on between maritime communities coming down from Southeast Asia and interacting with North Australians.
The Macassans from the Indonesian island of Sulawesi have been a presence in these waters for generations. They were lured here by an abundance of trepang or sea cucumber, a delicacy they caught and sold to the Chinese.
The Macassans would sail down here in large fleets, and the industry that they were involved in is collecting trepang, diving for trepang, which is a sea slug. They're processing it, they're dyeing it, they're drying it out. Then they load their ships up at the end of the wet season and head back on the southeasterlies.
The interaction between these foreigners and local Aboriginal tribes was extensive.
My grandfather's youngest brother actually went with a fleet going back to Macassar, and he never returned.
Macassan contact has had a lasting effect on the people of Anneroo Bay on the territory's north coast near Goulburn Island. Their culture includes Indonesian words and customs, and many believe dealing with the trepangers prepared Arnhem Land's Aboriginal leaders for their active role in Australian politics today.
That all comes back to a long history of working with outsiders, i.e. the Macassans, and so that they were experts in dealing with outsiders by the time Europeans come along.
So they were Australia's first diplomats then?
I think so. I think that they are consummate diplomatic sort of negotiators and politicians.
A team of archaeologists is now trying to find out once and for all when this cultural exchange began.
It's one of the reasons why we're out here, to test the hypothesis about how long Macassans were coming to the Northern Territory for. So we have an accepted date so far of 1720 AD, and yet we have some contradictory evidence that suggests it might be quite a lot longer.
Good plan would be to check out some of these sites.
Well, if the boat come across today.
The archaeologists have been invited here by the local traditional owners to establish the date of first contact in the area.
This bay here, okay. and then another one on the other side in 1 minute.
There's evidence of trepang being boiled here in large cauldrons by the Macassans.
See those rocks over there? Yeah. They were in a circle. They made up a half.
Carbon dating done in the 1960s threw up a mixed bag of results, with some samples dating back 800 years. At the time, the oldest results were thrown out as unreliable, but these archaeologists think they might have been right all along.
There was some uncertainty about the reliability of that, so we thought, well, let's go back to the sites again and get some new samples, and we'll put that to the test.
While people can run around having delusions and dreams and things that, they think are going to prove something different, it is most unlikely.
Campbell McKnight literally wrote the textbook on Macassan contact and did the original testing at Anneroo Bay in the 60s. He thinks the researchers are on the wrong track.
The very, very, very strong probability is that people first came to Arnhem Land for trepanging voyages in about 1780. The evidence for that is absolutely clear.
Campbell McKnight believes his theory is backed up by journal entries from Matthew Flinders, who sailed along the Territory coast in 1803. He encountered a fleet of Macassan praus led by a man named Pobasu.
The object of their expedition was to procure a certain marine animal which they called trepang. The Malays of Macassar had been occasionally upon this coast during the last 20 years, and Pobasu was among the first that came.
Campbell McKnight says that encounter and records from the port of Macassar confirm first contact happened in the late 1700s.
round about that time, there's an enormous increase in the volume of trepang going through Macassar. And it looks to me very much as if about 1780, the people from Macassar who were looking for trepang everywhere they possibly could, right through the archipelago, found Arnhem Land.
But the strategy of today's archaeology team is a little different to their predecessors. They're cross-checking their results from the coast with a rock art study up in the nearby Wellington Ranges. And they've got some pretty incredible material to work with.
We have this really interesting layer upon layer of the contact period after Europeans have arrived.
Gilleri hasn't been studied for 30 years, but the traditional owners hope it will paint a richer picture of Indigenous contact with the outside world.
You hear a lot of the explorers. Now they record things in books. This particular gallery, it's in pictures. So we have got an archive, a library here. It's a history.
With 1,300 images ranging from 15,000 to 50 years old, this shelter has been ranked as one of the top 5 rock art sites in the world.
In some of the oldest art, there are depictions of extinct animals like Tasmanian tigers and Tasmanian devils. In the more recent art, we see Macassans and other groups from Southeast Asia, as well as Europeans, beginning in the early 1800s.
There's even a whaling ship complete with a harpoon.
Indigenous people were travelling with Macassan people back to Makassar, so it's pretty likely that someone might have seen this, could possibly have been involved in the actual industry.
Here we have an image of a Macassan prow.
The grey wax dots on top of this faded boat could be a key to establishing who's right about the date of first contact.
We've taken a sample of the beeswax that lies over this particular image and submitting that for radiocarbon dating.
Those results should be in by Christmas, but for the traditional owners, the findings are more than just academic. Ronald Lami Lami's family hope they'll be able to prove the historical worth of this land.
This is my country. I live here and I own this country.
They want to start a ranger program to care for the land and share it with visitors.
With the research, that's going to enable us to know more, which will be for the public, to know about the Australian history and get this area protected, establish a land management here, hopefully set up our own ranges, park ranges.
Danielle Parry reporting there.